Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second session of the GSGS. My name is Baptiste, and I will be the chair of this session. As a reminder, each presenter will have a maximum of 12 minutes of presentation, and then the audience will have 3 minutes to ask their questions. So, first, let me introduce the first speaker of this session, Ashish Amresh, from the Northern Arizona University, and his presentation about COVID vaccine game proteins.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashish Amresh. I'm an associate professor in computer science. My research area is mostly looking at games for behavior change and designing games working within the healthcare context. I've been doing game design work in obesity, nutrition, and more recently in the area of vaccination. So today's presentation, I'm going to not use a standard format of PowerPoint talk, but just talk about the game itself. I'm trying to play it with you along the way. So the project was funded by Merck Foundation, a big pharmaceutical company. The idea here was that we're seeing early interest in vaccinations during the COVID-19 pandemic, but the interest tapers off as the pandemic progresses. And especially you see very little interest in the younger population, youth, teenage, and young adults, with respect to boosters, second doses, and so on. So the goal of the project was to look at games as a way to do some behavior change here, which is to improve vaccination uptake in this specific population. The idea that we proposed for the project was to look at a specific setting of vaccine clinics. Typically what happens in vaccine clinics are parents and their children, young adults, teenagers, usually are waiting for an appointment, and at that period of time, there is an opportunity to engage them with something more educational and interactive like a game. So the idea was to design something for that short duration of time, typically about 5 to 10 minutes while they're waiting for their appointments, with an intention that it would lead to some change in their behavior. The other aspect of this project that was critical was it had to be designed with what we call a dyad, which is the child and the parent in mind, rather than an individual. This is especially critical in this settings where the vaccination decisions are typically made by the parent, but there is an element of buy-in from the child as well. So it's a very unique situation where you have to design a game with a multiple human element in the mix. And so these are kind of some of the challenges. So the game had to be short, but the game also had to meet these challenges of multiple people working on it. So the theoretical basis was well-known theory of social cognition that Bandura talked about back when. And so the idea here was to look at attitudes, which usually came from the younger audience because their attitude to getting a vaccine is usually poor. Knowledge, which is another construct in the theory, which is usually a more parental construct where the parents are not as knowledgeable to make a decision. And then agency, which is a dual concept, which is trying to make sure that you provide the control of the decision making to the game, to the dyad. So using these three kind of theoretical foundations from the theory of social cognition, we try to design this game, and I'm just going to play a little bit about the game so that you can see how it's all coming out. At the moment, we are in the clinics, we're collecting data, we're looking at doing a not very long term, but about a 6-month study to see how the game influences decision making in the dyads, and study that and present it in the future. But right now, this is the final version of the game that I'm presenting at the conference. So I won't play the tutorial here, but I'll just kind of play the game to kind of show you what's happening. It's a school environment. We have a little bit of diversity here in the NPCs. You're playing a guard game kind of a mode, so you are not in the game, but you're making decisions on behalf of the NPCs that are in the game. You have the wellness clinic on the left, on the right. This is a unique element here. It's called the isolation zone. That is when you need to be isolated and prevent the spread of the pandemic. So the idea here is that you would need to save as many children. In this case, as a guard mode player, you're trying to get the highest score by saving as many children, which means that you are preventing them from getting the COVID infection. And you do that by making decisions on their behalf. So you'll see, by clicking these NPCs, you will either have a choice to convince them. So they're in 3 states. Some don't need convincing, which is kind of what the reflection of the real world is. Some need convincing, and some are absolutely, I'm not going to get the vaccine, right? So this is what's happening in reality, so we're trying to kind of do that. So if you click someone else, and I'm just going to try and see if you find. So this one does not need convincing, so you can move them into the vaccine clinic and start vaccinating. You'll also get to see some real-world perspectives where after they finish their first dose, there will be a timer, and they'll be ready for their second dose. So you won't see your score go up until you have actually given them the second dose. So you'll see that slide bar takes time. So it is still a game. You have to get the high score, which means you have to really manage your resources well and try and get that going. Now, when you try to convince someone, this is where the dyad actions come in. So this is the knowledge part of it, where the parent has to be brought in, and you discuss these options along with the parent while you're sitting in the clinic. So you have to make a choice based on the questions, which one would be appropriate. So, for example, I can say that, and it'll kind of give you whether you're right or not, and then you kind of move forward. And so once you get that correct, so if you click that person, they are now ready to be moved into the clinic because they don't need convincing anymore. From time to time, you'll see this ambulance in the bio, trying to see if there's anyone in the isolation zone. So sometimes you'll have to see, again, it's very rare. You find some folks ready for the second dose, so you can drag them into the clinic. And this is designed for tablets, so the mouse interface is not the best. So they are provided tablets in the clinics, and they're just using drag and drop using the swipes. Okay, so here's a person who would not want to be convinced, so you'll have to put them in the isolation zone. You'll see the ambulance take them away. So this is kind of giving a little bit more about, hey, if you're going to be one of those naysayers, you may have to be admitted, or your situation would get really worse. And you saw that the score got 1 because I gave that person the second dose. And the idea is before the time runs out, it's a really short duration here. You're trying to work together with your parent and make these decisions for as many children as possible to get them all the way to the second dose. And the goal here is that with this joint process of changing the attitude for the children and improving the knowledge for the parent, you're able to kind of tackle the dyad as a player rather than an individual. That's the key element here. So to try and design this for a dyad, and we're hoping, we don't know the answer to that, we're hoping that in the next few months, 6 months, we'll have some results to share about how well this actually worked with the target population. Okay, so questions? I can continue to play more and to see other things, but that's basically the idea of the game.
Thank you, Professor Rampesh, for your presentation. Someone want to ask a question? So I have one. Do you think, I am wondering, do you think that it could be possible to extend the concept of this game to another disease vaccine such as rubella or measles or HPV vaccine?
Yeah, absolutely. This is designed with COVID in mind, the knowledge elements like the questioning. But the situation also is kind of like a school where you have a high chance of infection. But the idea of having a gameplay that helps change attitude and then a series of questions that helps improve knowledge, that combination can work in any dyad-based environment. So, for example, for HPV, again, the parents are responsible for the HPV vaccine for the children. So you could use the idea in this this particular format to apply for some other vaccination goal. The other thing is you could also change it based on the population's community. So if you were in a rural area, it could be a different environment. This is designed for clinics that are in a metropolitan urban setting, so that's why you see the environment reflect that. You could also change the language to be, of the community's preference. So there are simple modifications that can be made without a lot of effort that could translate this into either different vaccination problems or different communities. But I don't want to say anything more until we have results, because if this doesn't really work, then we don't want to go pursue this route. So the verdict is still not out there about when this is going to be pursued.
I don't understand how this playing scenario is. So is this a tablet shared by the parent and child?
Yeah, so the tablets are provided to the clinics, and while they're waiting for their appointment, a tablet is given to both the child and the parent to jointly play the game on the tablet together.
So have you actually done playing sessions?
We have done usability studies with dyads just for usability. We are now in the process of collecting data in the clinics with the parents and children. We haven't completed that study yet.
Because my experience, I've done pair programming in my computer studies course. So you need to assure a kind of like balance, and who's doing what? How do you do that?
So the way it works is when you click someone that needs convincing, it freezes the game. So it is not at that time a highly active environment. And during the points when the game is frozen, the child and the parent have to discuss to answer the questions together. What I did was, I played it so many times to kind of know what the answers are, so I was able to move forward quickly in the interest of time. But during the usability studies we did, we found that actually parents and children discussed every option together to come up with the right, and many times they don't come up with the right answer and they have to try again, because if they don't get all three questions right, the NPC in the game won't be ready for the second dose. So for them to get a higher score, which is what's driving the child, they have to actually think about these answers. That's what's driving the parent, because that's where the knowledge is essential to be improved, is on the parent side. Whereas the score element, the game element, is where the driving force is on the child side. So together we see in our usability studies that parents and child actually nudge each other to make the right decisions while their game is frozen, so that they can get the highest score. Again, this is all usability. We didn't do it in the clinic yet, so a lot more information is going to be made available in the near future.
Thank you. Our next speaker is SANTÉ from the Social Work Faculty of Sierra, and our presentation of the co-creation of serious games to acquire professional skills.
Dini. Sorry for that. So I'm Antoine Henner. I'm a professor at HES-SO Valley in Computer Science, and I work with Sarah on this project. So the idea is that we share the presentation because she couldn't be here today. So she asked me to come and to give you like the context, and then you will see her in the presentation because she filmed herself presenting. So this is what the plan is. Let's see if it works. So the project that we have together is there. So we have in Valley, we have like a center for disabled kids to go and to apprenticeships. So the idea is that they can get trade in the building industry, and mainly in the building industry they have like 2D plan to do 3D stuff. And it's difficult for them to, even for me sometimes when I see the plan, it's really difficult to see like what the 2D is and how it's translated to the 3D. So the idea of this project is to see if we can do like serious gaming using XR to help them to take this ability and to be more like employable at the end of their apprenticeship. So we made the study on 5 trades. So bricklayers, carpenters, plumbers, metalworkers, and flaggers. They all have 2D plant and they all have like a 3D aspect. So when you build a wall, you have to know where you have to put the bricks, and it's given to you in 2D plan. So the idea is that all of these trades they must master the 2D, 3D aspect of the plane. So for the project that I'm talking today, it's a Swiss project that has 3 partners. The ORIF is the institution I told you before about this apprenticeship for people with disability. There is a social science, social work where Sarah is working, and the IT section is myself. So this is a project with 3 partners, and all the partners actually give a lot of expertise and a lot of added value to the project. So the idea, as I said, is to use LUCIEN using XR system because we believe that it could offer like personalized learning for this population. And XR, it's used because it's easy to train stuff in XR, but the thing is that not only a simulation, we actually place the gameplay, we have feedback, progress monitoring, we have levels, challenges, and it's interactive. So the idea is that we use XR because it's easy to do, and we'll see much more after, but then we apply serious game on that. And we use the Living Lab perspective, and this is what Sarah is doing. So talking to the end users, to the professionals, to the educators that are training the young generation. So the idea is that we have every 6 weeks we have like a meeting to see how it goes, and we make the test, we test with end users and so on. So this is kind of an interesting part of the project. And what we believe is that if you take this graph, on the y-axis you have the teaching kind of aspect, and on the x-axis you have the autonomy. And we believe that those lines that I drew on the graph as trajectory for different people. So we believe that some people will spend more time in VR and less time in AR, and people will go half and half, and people will spend less time in VR and more time in AR, and with serious games. So just to show you how it looks like, so this is a screenshot of the metal kind of workshop, and they have to have a 2D plan, and they have to create a piece in 3D using all the tools that they already know. So this is the part of XR. And the thing is that we placed a lot of aids, visual aids, or we have sounds. It's depending of the disability of the kids. We decide which kind of help we can give him or her, and how we can help him in the VR. So VR is nice because it's all controlled. So this is the first aspect. And then we have AR application as well, service game as well. And in this case is that they have two different of pipes, and they have to do it, they have to connect them through the app, and then you can see it in 3D and in the wheel, at the wheel scale directly in front of them. So this actually helps them a lot to see the 3D elements and how they connect to the 2D. So I have like a user feedback. I will see if the sound is working. Let's see. Yes, let's check.
C'est différent de ce qu'on voit à l'atelier. C'est plus dans un lieu qu'on connaît. Donc j'entends le jeu vidéo. En soi, genre, ouais, c'est vraiment plus instructif de faire ça comme ça que de faire sur un établi debout avec un crayon et un papier.
Okay, so this was like, because as I said, we made a lot of end user testing, and this was part of a small show that we had on the local TV, and she was asked that what she liked about the game or she didn't like about the game, and this is what she said.
C'est différent de ce.
And then I will let Saradini talk for the two slides. Let's see if it works as well.
For the social work, the project is very important. For the social work, the project is very important because it provides a new educational tool to help people with cognitive or social disabilities to be better integrated in our society. It's a new tool for educators in the classroom so that the educators can help apprentices to improve the hard skills, that may be a job-related skill, and soft skills like autonomy, planning, and problem-solving strategy. So this tool can improve employability and integration of young people with learning disabilities. What's very interesting too is to integrate educators and young people with learning disabilities in the project for the conception and tests of this tool, because we want to be sure that this tool is useful for both educators and young people with disabilities. This is precisely the Living Lab perspective. That's why we collaborate with educators to create exercises with structured learning. That means to have exercises with action sequences that apprentices need to memorize and master. And the difficulty here is to provide pedagogical supports that fit to an heterogeneity of profile. Because here we consider the learning disabilities in a large way that includes, for example, autism, attention disorder, hyperactivity, dyspraxia, dyslexia, or anxiety disorders. And so this tool has to be adapted to a diversity of difficulties, that means social, psychic, or cognitive. And the challenge here for the social work is to create with the technology different kinds of supports like visual scaffoldings, that means coloring very important elements or having text with adaptive form, vocal assistance, pictograms, sequence actions, and review representation. Another adaptation that is possible is to personalize the setting of the virtual environment with different degrees of support. José's pedagogical triangle is a benchmark for designing a learning situation The triangle includes the educator, the apprentice, and the skill to be acquired. That's the triangle below the illustration. By introducing technology into the process, it becomes a heterohedron, and it involves rethinking the process of knowledge transmission and acquisition. The tetrahedron, conceptualized by Lombard, gives the possibility to analyze the function and malfunction of learning situations, as well as the technological tool. So this is why we're using it in this project, not only to create the tool that the triangle representing teaching here, and to create the appropriate pedagogical supports, that's the learning triangle, but also to create the pedagogical guide for educators. That's the triangle that we have behind, in the back, that's called education. This guide will help educators to coach their apprentices before, during, and after after using the tool. So indeed, the educator will have to prepare apprentices to use the tool, to coach them during the use, and have them to transfer knowledge, that's very important, to the real world and generalize what the apprentices have to learn, or have learned. The benefits of using technology here to mediate knowledge in the learning situation are known in the scientific literature. Indeed, the literature reports that in addition to the acquisition of personal skills and support for learning, there is an improvement in learners' autonomy, support for cognitive functions such as attention, planning, self-regulation, time management, and memory, a reduction in the need of external aids, and an increase in self-determination. This is what we hope to achieve in this project.
Thank you, Sarah. So the concept in the need, so what we are at right now is that we are, the project will be finished in December, and we are still testing. We have a test early July with more participants. And we haven't touched the AI aspect of it at the moment, but the idea would be to have like a learning path that is actually given to one user based on his or her abilities and his liking. And the thing is that we got contacted with like association, like trade association, that they want to use the tool in normal apprenticeship. So, for example, in Valais, we have a lot of people coming from Italy to work, and they don't speak the language. So maybe we can use this tool in Italian to teach them how to speak in Switzerland. And for conclusion, so this is our quadrant of learning, and we use the Living Lab process and application interview to make everything work. And it's really targeted at professional skill acquisition, mostly for people that have disabilities. And it's really emphasized that one of the nice aspects that I like about this project is the fact that we have social work really involved in the project, and that makes the project really like focus on the need of the younger generation. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. I think there are some questions, so someone want to ask a question? Okay, so I have one. In your presentation, you said that your service games improve the skills and integration.
Yes, so this is the goal of the service games.
And they are wondering how you evaluate the improvement of skills and integration.
So this is the second part of the project. Will be to have like two groups, like one control group that does the normal training and one with this. And we hope we can see like difference of like the speed of learning. And for us, the nice thing is that integration in the company is a big deal, because like usually this population, when they get hired by the company, they do like a really meaningless job. And we hope that if we give them more ability to do stuff that is more meaningful for them, they will be more integrated in the company.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm glad to hear about this project, Antoine, because we had some exchange by email in order to collaborate in the future.
Yes.
We are working with the same client, I think. Nice. But I have a question. It's always very time-consuming to develop the models, 3D models, etc., for such games. Did you do something in order to make these games a little bit generic? Thinking about offering tools, how to make it a little bit possible for many scenarios and not only the one who were specified since the beginning.
Yes.
Thanks.
So the idea is that yes, we kept that in mind when we were building the VR application or the AR application. So what you can see here is that we have several panels that you can actually change as you wish. So we keep the same kind of panel for all the trades, and as well we have a sequence of exercises that are like in the database, as you might know. So we have like a structure of exercises with tasks and with like point and like if it's successful or not. So we have all that as well, and the idea is, as you said, is not only to do this project and have everything finished at the end, but to try to get something out and plug it somewhere else. So that was the goal as well.
Thank you very much. You spoke about the co-creation.
Mm-hmm.
Could you precise which kind of co-creation?
Yeah.
Especially about the implication of maybe public and apprentice.
Yes. Yes. So the idea is that we use this leading lab approach. That is what Saradin is doing in the project. So the idea is that every 6 weeks we meet with educators, with people that are involved in the project, and we have end users as well. So next week I'm going back to Orif, and we like 2 young people for each of the trades that will come and test what we did. And the idea, we did already that 6 months ago. So now we actually incorporated their feedback, and now we see if it's better. So the idea is that the cooperation is the fact that we are doing like iterative sequences, and each of them we must be better than the last one. And the thing is that we involve all partners each time that they need. So they can come and test and ask questions. And it was really, I mean, this is, for me, this is kind of the nice part of the project, is that we're always confronted by small issues, and for us it's time consuming because it's computer science, but then on the other side they don't understand this, so they say, but I asked you this little thing and you spent 2 months to do it, so what happened? So this is, I mean, for me this is what we like about this cooperation aspect.
One last question.
So I understand that you made a digital simulation of the workspace. Right?
Yes, so that's what I said more than simulation, is that we simulated the workspace, but then we added the gameplay as well. So this is I know, yes.
What is the gameplay other than doing a exercise but in a digital stage?
So the gameplay is more about the challenges, and as well as the help that you can ask or you cannot ask. So the thing is that he is having choices to ask help from someone or not. So the idea is this is the full aspect of it. But then if it knows well, you can play alone and doing the simulated environment. But then if he needs help, you can add, and then the more help he gets, the less point he gets, and you have a leaderboard at the end as well. So we have 2 kinds of gamification with some gaming aspect, and and as well as the gameplay and the fact that he has to do like some challenges after challenges.
So you added points to normal exercises, but they decrease in normal.
Yes.
Okay. Do they get graded for these exercises?
They get graded.
Like,
I mean, if they get a grade out of it.
yeah. Is there assessment?
Yes, there are assessments. The idea is that for now is that the educator is with them when they do the simulation or the science game, and then they see what's going wrong and what's going nicely. And the thing is that as well is that what we saw is that people like with disability, they were not able to do it in reality, but they were able to do it in VR. So the thing is that when we see that there are some changes in the fact that if they place the helmet and they do it in the VR, and sometimes the educator told me that yeah, this guy cannot do it in the real life because he's free, he's frozen because of I don't know what, and when he placed the helmet on his head, he's doing this stuff. So at the same time, he's not getting graded, but the thing is that the educators know what he needs to work on after. So it's more like within the training aspect.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
It is a great honor to introduce our next speaker, Yassine Azizrek from the University of Applied Science of Geneva and his Glasgow Commerce Institute.
Thank you. Okay, hello everybody, my name is Yassine Retik, I'm professor at the University of Applied Science in Geneva, and I will present a project called GSGS for a Glasgow coma scale simulator, and this project is developed in collaboration with my colleague Stéphane Maranda, here present, and also Dominique Carrea de Oliveira from the École SANTÉ Canton de Vaud. So, first, let me explain a little bit what is this Glasgow scale. So the Glasgow coma scale is a neurological instrument in order to measure the degree of consciousness for patients, and it's a way to communicate easily between the many intervenients in emergency situations. So when, for example, there is a situation of emergency between nurses, doctors, rescuers, etc., they can rapidly exchange their evaluation of the situation just by giving a number. It's 7, it's 10, and it's very easier than explaining half an hour about the situation, because we are in a situation of emergency and we need to go fast. It's an international scale. This is also very beneficial, so you can have the same evaluation wherever you are all over the world. This scale is based on 3 main, let's say, analysis of the A, movement and situation. Of course, I'm sorry, I'm not doctors, I'm not practitioners, I'm trying to explain what people explained to me at the beginning of the project. The second thing is everything which is verbal exchange, how he answer questions, can he situate himself, etc. So it's what we call verbal response. And we have also motor response. There is some analysis we can do in order to see if he reacts normally or not to some stimulus. And based on these 3 evaluations, we get to a score. And of course, this score, if it's between 13 and 15, the situation is very okay. if is it between 9 and 12, the situation starts becoming a little bit, not normal, but we have to do something. And if is it lower than 8, we are in a critical situation and we have to take many decisions rapidly. Okay, so this is the scale. How this scale is teaching now, of course, this scale, as I said, is used by a lot of people, doctors, nurses, firemen, rescuers, etc. So it is, they are supposed to be trained on making such analysis and such diagnostic and give a score for all this curriculum. But the problem is that in general, the topic is so large and the variation is so huge. They always make some simulation using themselves as figurants, as actors, and they try to simulate 10, 12 situations. And it's very basic and it is not enough at all to get all the parameters and to take into account all the variation of the problem. So let me give you just one example. You can teach the theory for 1 year and then you are faced with the patient and he don't react, and it is not because of the situation, it's not because he is, for example, paralyzed or he is older woman and he cannot react. So the diagnostic will be completely different, and all these nuances and shaders and subtleties are not easy to teach. So the idea is that we have been contacted by teacher from the École Santé in Lausanne, and they said, can you do it better by building a simulation for that? So the first step, so the objective was to first build a simulation in order to put the student, the learner, in a situation and to be able to realize this, diagnostic and to be able to give a score at the end. This is the first step. Then, of course, because I'm working on gamification and game development since now, 20 years, I try to introduce some gamification, and I asked them, can we make it a little bit more attractive, etc., by introducing some gamification? So, of course, as usual, they said, it's okay, but first let's focus on the simulation and then we can see. So we went this step-by-step project. So we say, okay, we will develop the simulation first, very seriously, very realistically, and then we will tackle 2 gamification steps. In the first one, we will introduce gamification aspects who are, let's say, classical. All bodies, everyone working in gamification know them. I will explain them later. But in the second phase, I suggested to go out from the classical context of the hospital or etc. and to develop something completely new. We are in the city, we are doing missions, and in order to make the quests and the missions in the city, you have to rescue some people in order to get information, to get some keys, to get some hints, and this will help you to go faster, to go more in your missions, etc. So this is the, let's say, the contracts with our, let's say, end users. So we started development, so we developed a kind of modelization of our simulator. So the idea is to allow the practitioner or the teacher to define scenarios, and the scenario described can we have interaction with parents of the patient, how to model the patient and all his reactions to the stimulus, and also how to get access to the files and records of the patient's age, situation, etc., medical information, etc. And then the gamer will take into account. I'm sorry. Bon, j'ai touché quelque chose. Okay. Sorry. Then the gamer will start, and the end results of his game or his simulation is to first have a Glasgow score. He has to suggest the Glasgow score. But there is also another things, because when we discuss with teachers, they said what is important not only to get the score, but to decide what is the implication of this score. And they have what they call something they call it the SCAR, is situation, context, analysis, and reactions. So the idea is to describe for any doctor or practitioner the situation of the patient, the context. Is it, for example, the third diagnostic, the second day, the third day, etc. So this is what they call the context. Then you have to give your analysis. He is at 9, at 6, at 7, at whatever your score, and then you have to suggest. We should, for example, make intubation. We should do that and that and that. And this process has to be mastered by this prototype. So of course we make a model for that, because our idea is to be able to generate as much situation as possible. So instead of developing fixed scenarios, we give the opportunity for the learner, for the teacher, to describe their own scenario, and we model that in JSON format, and then it is absorbed by our simulator, and we can have new simulation each day if the teacher can describe the new scenarios. Okay, so it's we try to make it very generic. So now the situation is that the simulation part is working, let's say, well. I say let's say well because we didn't make real tests until now. Only teachers use it, test it, and we are supposed to test it in the next semester at September. Okay, so the idea is to be in an hospital room. We have the patients, we have one of the parents, etc. Don't take attention to the bad modeling of the patient, etc. This is only the first prototype. Now we have nicer and more realistic prototypes, etc. of the patients and the parents. Then when we have also is that we can interact with the patients, we can interact with the parents. At the end, you have to decide from the 3 levels of scoring, compute the global score, and then you have also to decide in the SCAR tool in order to take decision what you have to do in this situation. At the end, any learner has a global evaluation at the end. Did you do it good or bad, etc., etc. Okay. So as I said, this is okay. Again, I have to mention the difficulty to model a patient and to be as realistic as possible. Of course, it's a small project. I don't have the budget to hire 10 graphics in order to have a very realistic patient. So what we do is that we use reusable assets from Unity, etc. But what we did is to develop 3 modules on that, focusing on the 3 analyses we have to do. So we developed something focusing only on eyes, and we develop a module allowing us to define how the eyes will react and how we can trigger that, etc. So this is in order to focus on eye reactions and situation. The second thing is all the verbal exchange with the patients, and we do it using artificial intelligence. We using bots, and we using also a tool in order to detect keywords in the questions, and then we automatically generate answers. And of course, the answers depends on the score we are targeting. So if, for example, the teacher says, in this situation, the targeted score is 8. So we are supposed to have incoherent answers. So we have to produce incoherent answers. Not coherent, it's the opposite, etc. Okay, I will finish in 2 minutes. And the third thing is that we have developed a lot of animations in order to simulate also the reaction of patients to physical stimulus. And also in this case, we developed good ones and wrong ones, because sometimes it happens in a lot of time it happens. Okay, certain things we started introducing some gamifications, like for example time constraints, scoring, rewards, final evaluation, and also we noticed that students and teachers like these aspects of using IT objects. It's by itself, it's funny for them, okay? And the second step, but we didn't start that, we are also just brainstorming on it, and we start making the models, etc., and the story, but we didn't start the implementation, is, as I said, to transform all that as a mission in the city, and you will make some encounters, and every time you encounter someone, he is in a critical situation, you have to save them in order to get some information, some hints, some code, etc., and it will allows you to continue your mission. It is intended to be more fun. So this is the situation, and now, as I said, the simulation mode worked very well. Gamification level 1 is also in progress, but more or less achieved. And as I said, we will test that next semester with the real students from École de Santé Lausanne, and the future will be the gamification level. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation. Unfortunately, we have no time for questions.
No problem, it's better for me to escape questions. No, but we can discuss in the break. So I'm here for the whole day and tomorrow also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Finally, it's a great honor to me to introduce our next speaker, Stéphane Gomont from the University of Applied Science of NEUCHâTEL, and his presentation entitled Gamifying the End-of-Life Project with 3D Rendering.
Hello everyone, long time no see. It's working? Yes, it is. Gamifying end of life? I mean, is this a bad joke? This presentation will be basically into two parts. The project itself, because it's been 5 years we are working on this project, so it's fairly old. You've got the graphics and the variety gamification. This is 5 years. So, and the other part is gamification by adding graphics. This is also a bit weird. I add some graphics and then it's gamified. Okay, we'll see that. So the project itself, end of life. It's been quite a while, you see, 2016, is clearly about end of life. Some people are dying. This is obviously the only thing we know for sure in life, the end. But the issue is not just the patient. Here we are talking about the staff. For you to know, I don't know if you know, but people working at hospitals, in homes, or in specialized departments, there's around 10 to 15% of the personnel, the staff, that after 1 year will have a burnout, or they will just go into depression, and they will quit their work. Not just like changing the department. They will quit. There's no way they will go into a hospital anymore. And it's a huge waste. Not just a waste of staff. I mean, I'm missing a lot of staff. But it's also in terms of personnel. What's going on? fact is, this occurred because most of the time they are very young. They arrive, they've been taught a lot of techniques, and in terms of soft skills, empathy, listening, how to react to someone who is dying. I mean, it can be sad to see elder people die, but sometimes it's a kid. I know that this kid will live maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, max. How to react, how to protect yourself. So with Pierre-Alain Charmiot, we started this work. The consortium was a bit larger, but the main player here was there, and especially Jean-François, which they worked a lot, because we had to find something about storytelling. Because this is about experimenting. When you are at school, you don't experiment. Well, yes, you do, but not with someone dying. It's just theory. And you are trained for technical skills only. How to react at someone who's just keeping on crying, or maybe having some violent action on you. The violence can be physical, it can be also mental. And the big part was with Jean-François Michelet, who is a scenarist. So most of the hours we worked on this problem was with him, making a story, a consistent story. And of course, we had the chance to have 5 other institutes. We went to see them and we asked, please tell us your experience. What happened with your 20, 30, 40 years of experience in healthcare for people dying. And we had a small set of really deep and emotionally speaking, strong stories. And with Jean-François, we made a story about that. A multiple choice story. So each time you have a context, and you have a choice how to react to this context, and then the story goes on. And after a while, you finish one scene, and after 4 or 5 scenes, you finish one chapter. But each time you want to go from one scene to the other one, you will be judged by not your capacity, technical capacity, but about how you were, or your selection, your choices, made like you are strong, maybe in empathy, but the listening part is weak. And the goal is not to be the perfect listener and very weak in empathy, for instance. You have to be strong a little bit in everything. Most of the choice that you get when you do this experience are not bad choices. It's just choices. And from that, it's not just experience that you learn of difficult situations. It's also the fact that you have these choices telling you, oh, I'm discovering that I could answer that. Yeah, I can also answer that. And by reading this, you will learn not just the situation that you might encounter in your professional life, but also solutions that you might use. But not only that. This system, by the end of the 200 situations that you were on, it will give you a mirror of yourself. Statistically, this mirror is quite strong. Maybe the computer will tell you, well, your listening skills are very good. Definitely, you are maybe too close to the patient, and maybe then you will get hurt. You must put at least a little bit of distance, a little bit. The opposite, of course, can help with results. So each scene at the end of on this one, respect, compassion, and empathy, for instance. There was, at the beginning, five soft skills we wanted to implement. Only 3 currently are implemented. But then, the game was just text, and the graphics, as you can see previously, was very early. We are not experts in graphics design. We do some computer programs, but not the design. So we thought to say, okay, let's try to add some gamification to make it more sexy, but with the same story, with the same depth, and maybe, how to add the graphics? It's not just to make it beautiful, because the story is not funny at all. And it's gamified, but gamified doesn't mean that it's fun. I can tell you that each time we try this story with students and fellow staff members from the health departments, quite a lot of people were actually crying just by reading and the choice they have. So we use 2 engines, Unreal Engine and also Unity Engine. The first one for the scenes and to make it quite more beautiful, and because we had some facial expression to add, and because to transfer and to emerge more easily by looking at the face of your patient, then it's even more gamified. Of course, it's not a game, but you can have a transfer of emotion. And in terms of activity and user interaction, we use Unity because it was much more easy than this one. Here are the scenes that we rendered, and here are the facial expression of Agathe. She's 93, and her health is not that good. And we know that by the end of the book, she will not be there anymore. And this is the place where we invented. She's staying just now. You can see her here, the wedding. And let's take a look. Right. This. So the take-home message, gamification and serious game for header is a big, I would say in terms of kind of a big challenge, but it's also a big market. So if there's some entrepreneur here, you can be sure that there's some stuff to be done, and that's, I think, from my point of view, the great stuff to when you come back home and you say, okay, I worked for just making a nice watch. I'm not saying that because Ashra is making great watches. Soft skills are very important. Unfortunately, they are not very well taught because it's very difficult to teach this matter. Nothing's better than the experience itself, in this case, and you have the mirror effect. All you are.